Hey guys, and welcome to the bonus episode for The Walking Dead. This is going to kind of be my thoughts on the project, going to be talking about The Walking Dead a little bit, especially the last episode, because there's a lot that happens there. Definitely want to talk about that, all the speculation that we can go through and all that. Talk about kind of just this game in general, why I like it so much, why I think it's such a good game, why you should buy it. All that kind of stuff. So, where to begin? Well, let's talk about the end. I want to justify my ending choice to you guys. In the end, Clementine either shoots you, or she leaves you. Now, I've seen both endings, and I think the one I chose is the best option. Now, you might say, well, the stranger's right. You are a monster. You're making a little girl shoot you. That's fair, but let's look at it from this perspective. How broken up was Clem over the fact that her parents were turned into zombies? She was pretty hurt over it, right? I mean, she was hurt over everything that happened in the last 15 minutes of the game, but especially that. I mean, it was horrible for her. And I couldn't let the same thing happen to her because of Lee. And I mean, she really forms a relationship with Lee and therefore with the player. I mean, she forms a relationship with you that you are her protector. She loves you, even though it's sometimes hard for her to show it because stuff sucks. You know, I mean, it's a zombie apocalypse. It's hard. But she does love you, and she even says in the end that she'll miss you. So, the reason why I made that ending choice is that I wanted to make sure that it was over. I wanted her to be able to leave, and that was it. I didn't want her to look back in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, when she's an adult person, or even just 10, and think, Lee Everett's out there somewhere, I have to go kill his zombie form to put him out of his misery, out of some sense of honor that she would have towards the player character, or me, specifically. I wouldn't want that, and I would want it to just be over. So there's this horrible, horrible set of events, and then it's not so bad. Then it's just surviving the zombie apocalypse, and it sucks, yes, but it's not as bad. So I just wanted it to be over, and I couldn't leave her wondering if she should have shot me. It had to be done. Leaving Lee behind, when she watches him turn into a zombie, by the way, basically what ends up happening is that he falls over and he hits his head on the radiator. It's a little more gentle than I make it sound. And then he kind of like blinks and opens his eyes. And he's a zombie. I could not let Clem see that. She'd already seen her parents go through that. She'd already been kidnapped, and that's just disgusting. It had to be over. Well, I guess the second thing that I can talk about are some of the points made throughout the ending here. First of which, what do you guys think? Is Krista pregnant? They kind of imply it. It's kind of gentle, except for the very end there. Well, not the very end, but you know, like Lee definitely makes the point that you're walking for two, and this was really curious to me. And I even remember talking about it. That is he referring to that she has to take care of Clementine, or is he referring to that she's pregnant? Because it's a phrase that's very commonly used when referring to a pregnant woman. You know, so it's just really weird that way. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I think it'd be interesting, and I think that Telltale would want to explore that. I don't think it's beyond them, and I think it would actually be very interesting and very different dynamic. And this kind of leads me to my next point. There's going to be a sequel to this game. The Walking Dead Season 2. Now, it's set to come out in the fall of this year, the first episode. I'll be playing it and recording it blind. We don't really know what it's about. The only thing we know is that the developer said, and like paraphrase quoting here, that there's so many more stories in this universe that they want to explore. Now, they say this universe, and I immediately assume they're going to be doing they're going to be talking about Clementine, I'm reading Krista, but not necessarily. And what I'm thinking it could be that way, and I really want it to be. Like, what we could do is skip ahead 9 months to where the Krista has her baby. If she's pregnant, I'm not sure she is. But she could be. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would help her explain her weak stomach earlier. I don't know. Anyway, it could just be that she's a normal person. But one thing that they might do, which would make me really mad, is they might talk about a whole new group of survivors. Now, when I say it would make me mad, no, I love the story of this game, and I'm sure they can do just as well. I would love to buy the game; they would deserve my money. However, I would be mad because that freaking cliffhanger at the end of this game. That freaking cliffhanger. And that brings me to one of my other points I want to talk about. What do you guys think about the ending? Couple things. Who's that off in the distance? And does Clementine shout to them? I think those are two big things. And because Clementine shouting to them is important because that would indicate that she goes to them. And personally, I think she does. Or at least I think my Walking Dead universe, she would. Because I told her, meet with Omid and Krista by the train station, or by the train. And personally, I think that is Omid and Krista. Because you can very, very much see that they're talking, and there's only two of them. Now, I was trying to look at the very end there. I was actually there for that part. I actually got up and left for the credits. But I was trying to look at them during that part. One of them is definitely a woman. I can't tell about the other one. But what you can see is that they're definitely walking and talking, and then the one in the front turns to look back and sees Clementine off in the distance. Or sees someone. We don't know if they necessarily know it's Clementine. But they definitely start waving. In the zombie apocalypse, you don't start just waving to people. And they're not they know it's not a zombie. I don't know how they know that, but I think they know it's Clem. So I'm thinking it's Omid and Krista because they wave, and because they stop for a moment before they wave, and they like, stare for a few seconds, and then they start going crazy. Now, we don't get a good look at them, but that's just my theory. As for whether Clementine shouts to them, I think she does. And I definitely hope that we get a continuation of this story. One thing I would actually really, really like to see happen with The Walking Dead 2, or The Walking Dead Season 2, my apologies, is I want to... One of two things will happen. If Krista's pregnant, then I think we're gonna go ahead and... Okay. If Krista's pregnant and we follow up with Clementine, I think we're gonna play as Clementine, play as a new survivor, or we'll play as Omid, I think. And I'm not trying to say that to be sexist. I mean, I just think we'll play as Omid and not Krista. Or what they could do is have us play as all of them at one point. It's definitely something they could do. But if Krista is pregnant, and if they follow with the story of Clementine, then I think what they'll end up doing is the game will start exactly where it left off, where this one left off. It'll start immediately at Clementine going to them, and I think you'll have a choice. I think you'll have a choice of whether or not to shout to them, and I think that'll be kind of cool. So I think you'll have that choice, and then I think at some point we will cut ahead to when Clementine finds out that Krista's pregnant. I'm not very good at the female biology during pregnancy. It's like 4 months, not 4 months, like 2.5 months you start showing. So about that time, we'll find out. Okay, and then obviously we'll cut ahead to her having her baby. Then we'll have all the challenges of having a newborn and all that. And we'll also have the challenge of Omid still being injured. I mean, we can't forget this, even though Lee cut off his arm and was bitten. Omid is still hurt. He's not dying anymore. He doesn't have an infection, but he's still hurt pretty bad, and there's definitely a possibility that he could be. But the second option that I see is that Krista's not pregnant, and we're gonna cut ahead a long time later. Like, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, and it's still that's gonna be affected by the first game. And you may ask, well, how do we know that? Because in episode 4, you, at the very end, you say something to the stranger. We don't know his name, by the way. We just refer to him as a stranger. You choose to say something to the stranger at the end of the episode 4. Episode 5 came out a month later, when I first played this. it still keeps that. And I think that's going to happen in The Walking Dead 2. I think the choices you make in The Walking Dead 1 will affect Walking Dead Season 2. And I think, and if they do, I'm going to love, Telltale's going to become easily my favorite, one of my favorite game companies. But what I see we're going to do is, if Krista isn't pregnant, then depending on what Lee told her to do, Clementine is going to be in a certain situation. And maybe I'm over-dramatizing this a little bit, maybe I'm wanting too much, but I think Clementine will either be alone, or she'll be with Lee and Krista. Now again, I might be assuming a little too much. They might have, okay, she's always going to be with Lee and Krista, she's always going to be with... Yeah, okay, maybe. But what I'm hoping is that, because you tell Clementine in the end, stay away from cities, meet and Krista, stuff like that. If you tell her to meet and Krista, I think she will find them. And I think that's going to be really cool. But if you tell her not to, I think she's going to be on her own. And one thing I'm really looking forward to is, if we cut ahead like that, I want to see Lee's final words to her still being lived out. Keep that hair short. I mean, you can tell her that. I mean, and she always said, and she even said, I'll cut it myself. Like, the game begins with her reaching out, and it's like a reflection of her, and you can still see it's Clementine because she has like the hair and facial structures and the hat. And she'll be cutting her own hair. I think that'd be really cool. And like she's in the countryside somewhere where there's no cities, because I told her don't stay in cities. I just think that'd be so cool. So that's kind of what I foresee for The Walking Dead episode 2, or season 2. I apologize. I can't really speculate anymore. I've already done a lot, but you know. Now let's talk about a few other game points. What happens if you don't cut off your arm? Actually, you collapse a few times if you don't cut off your arm. Obviously you collapse from all the blood loss if you do. But like when you're climbing up the ladder, you start climbing up and then you actually pass out and fall backwards on the ladder. Your legs catch, so you're still dangling there, and you hit your head on one of the rungs. So, I mean, right there. Now, that's another decision I want to justify to you guys. Cutting off the arm or not. To be honest, in this, I accidentally hit 1. I was kind of going to hit 2. I don't know what happens if you don't make that choice. I really don't. I've never seen one of those decisions never been made, like the time runs out. But I'd be curious to know. I mean, it's interesting to say the very least. But if you don't cut off your arm, you definitely collapse a few times. Like when Lee was getting dizzy up in the attic of the mansion, he like kind of gets dizzy, and then Clementine talks to him and he comes back. Instead, if you have your arm, you actually pass out, and then you reawaken to Clementine's voice. So it's interesting. Now, again, let me justify this decision to you guys. I'm just going to give you the pros and cons of both. Keeping your arm. You don't cut it off, so you have a lot more blood in your system. You're not weak, but you still have the bite on you. Sorry about my mic. So, you know for a fact you're gonna die. Okay, I mean, and plus you're avoiding the extreme pain that Lee went through. You're avoiding the risk of infection, and you can probably go on a little bit longer, even though you do collapse. When Lee's normal, he's a lot stronger, and obviously when he's like picking up the ladder, he has 2 arms. Kenny doesn't have to help him with that or offer. And when he's jumping, yeah. Real quick, one thing: when Lee jumped across to get to the bell tower and he slammed his, this is gonna sound bad, but his stub on the concrete, I'm really surprised he didn't scream there. Like, I obviously does, he's a video game character. I'm surprised they didn't program that in, because that would hurt. That wouldn't just hurt, that'd be agony. It would be horrible. But now let's talk about the pros and cons of cutting off your arm. Blood loss, risk of infection, and you're very weak from both. Because your body is going into shock, literally. Like, your body just goes into panic mode and goes, okay, we need to figure this out. And he wasn't taking any antibiotics, and I think that's what eventually killed him. Because you can see at the very end, his arm is giant. Like, around the amputation, it's huge, it's swollen. So I think that's what killed him, not the zombie bite. I think, if properly medicated, he would have lived. If they'd gone back and gotten the supplies. But I think what they're trying to say is that Vernon and them took everything. So, whatever. But you save yourself from the zombie bite. but you also have excruciating pain. Anything else I wanted to talk about? I don't have any notes. I was just kind of free talking here the whole time. I kind of thought I had what I wanted to say, but overall, I think this project went really well. I'm a little disappointed with the first episode when it wasn't full screen. Whatever, I'm a moron. Sorry, guys. I'll have to keep that stuff in mind for next time. Otherwise, I think this turned out really well. I'm happy with the quality. I'm happy with the editing. I'm happy with how I played it out. Now, here's one thing I want to talk about. I had to play through the 5th episode in total 2 times, but I played maybe the first 10 minutes of it, up to cutting off your arm. I played that maybe 7 times in total. Because I was so indecisive about whether I wanted to cut off the arm. But in spite of that, every reaction that you saw from me was completely real and completely genuine. Because even though I knew what was going to happen, in some cases I had actually forgotten some stuff. Like, I'd forgotten about Crawford, to be perfectly honest. I just had. I don't know why. I'd forgotten about that... I'm trying to remember his name. In episode 2, the man who gets killed because he gets... because the dairy farmers kill him. Him. I don't know his name. Mark. That's his name. Mark. I'd forgotten that Mark does, to be honest. I'd forgotten about the meat locker. Just small stuff like that. I remember the big decisions, like saving Doug or Carly, going with Kenny, and killing Larry. You know. But overall, I like this project. I thought it was really good. Every reaction was completely genuine. And yeah, I got off topic because I lost my train of thought. Every reaction was completely me. It was all genuine. It was all what I felt. Even though I'd played through it twice, the full 5th episode, because there was a weird audio glitch that went on, I still felt really broken up about it. Not as bad as the first time, which kind of made me upset because I was getting used to it. But I still felt really bad afterwards. And I didn't feel nearly as bad as when I first played it. Oh my gosh, no. But everything was totally genuine. There was no... I generally don't... I don't fake reactions. Honestly, I don't. So, there you go. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. And if there's any bonus footage you want to see of, like, different decisions, I won't be replaying the entire episode, but I'll rewind at different points. I mean, I'm willing to do that. Anyway, you should buy The Walking Dead and play for yourself. Make your own decisions. Save Lee's arm. Side with Kenny every time. It's fascinating. I watched this. I watched episodes 1 through 4, then I played 5. I obviously played 1 through 4. But, you know, I hadn't seen 5 when I played it. Let me just put it that way. That's why I was so broken up over it. But I made totally different decisions. Not totally, but I made some different decisions this time. Like, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Like cutting off my arm. I didn't cut it off last time. In fact, 2 days ago was the first time I actually cut off Lee's arm when I was actually playing. It was pretty ridiculous. But, yeah. You should buy this game. And one feature I want to show you guys real quick is if you go to play, and you say... Or no, I'm sorry. You go to episode status. You can see all the different things that are installed. Cool. It is interesting, though, how it shows you all the different people. Then, another thing you can do is go to play. Go to new game. And if you say play, you can actually go forward to the different episodes. And then, if you hit play, see, generate store decisions for skipped episodes. So basically what you can do is it'll give you random decisions if you just want to jump in one episode. I don't recommend this because you should immerse yourself in this storyline. But if you just want to play one episode, then that's something you should do. I wouldn't recommend this up to episode 2. Once you hit episode 2, don't do it. Because I can see you getting away with it in episode 1. Once you get to episode 2, you have to side with Kenny or Lily, like, in a snap decision. All that kind of stuff. So I just want to kind of show that off real quick. And again, thank you very much, guys, for watching. It's greatly appreciated. And I hope that you enjoyed the series. I definitely enjoyed playing it, even though I was really dreading it, and I said forever that I wouldn't be posting this. But a friend of mine finally convinced me because he wanted to see it, and I couldn't live stream it, so... Thank you guys for watching. And next time I play this... is if you guys request any bonus footage, if you want, and then when the sequel comes out, I'll definitely be playing then. Anyway, guys, this is Iron Square, signing off.